backtesting session of today's action, July 25th. Just gonna go back to the time right before the session start, market open. So we're gonna just let this play. So taking a look at the 1 hour. We had a bearish move. We had actually an accumulation here. MMB1 was validated here, and actually came below the EMAs in C2 and was below the EMAs right before market open. So at that moment we were kind of having a bearish move. We were coming right before the session started. I had this markings here on the context time frame as when price went below the EMAs. I'm gonna just flip this for a moment. We had this bearish momentum. We had the distribution, MMB1 and MMB2. So this is basically the marking that I had right before market open. Came here with a move downwards. Price was right at the EMAs at that time on the context time frame, and then moved to the downside. It was coming up again. This time on the C2 time frame, price was again going to the EMAs and above, and the same was happening here on the context time frame. I had this marking here, so my expectation was for price to go above this accumulation here. So with this candle there was no close above, but we certainly had a bullish move. And I had this marking here. With the buildup of an MMB1, then a flush that came through the 10 EMA, almost touched the 20. We had this containment line here, and then we had the buildup of this double MB here. This is not a trade that I took. I remember that I was expecting at this time for price to come here and touch the 20, but that didn't happen, and that was basically the main reason I did not take it. But it was a valid trade, and this one actually was tapped in, came here for a 1.5 hour move. As soon as price goes above this high, I would have moved my stop to break even, and then it came back. So it would have been a break even trade, just as I have the marking here. Then we had this flush again as part of the same MME1. Price came back to the 20, and we had again a build-up of a double MB. This is a trade that I actually took. So flush to the 20. The close was just a little bit under the 20, but then price came back again, reclaiming the EMA, the 20, and then there was this build-up of this double MB with an entry point above this containment line, which was quite clear, and above the EMAs. So this is the time that price tapped me in. This was the move by that time, and then I believe I got, yeah, very quickly I was out due to this move to the downside, an aggressive move to the downside, and then we had a correction back up. But as I had this with my stop loss defined, I just got out due to this week. So this was the first trade for me, and a -1 at that time, just around 30 minutes after session, after market open. So after this week, price came back to the entry point, a little bit above again. And then from there, it moved quite nice. So actually the idea was okay, just very unfortunate to have this week at that time. So after that, we came again up here, had another flush. A buildup of this containment line, price coming back, in this case to the 10 EMA. Goes beyond the 10 EMA and then right back in, creates this double MB at that time. So we set up a buy stop at this point above this double MB, which would be price above the containment line and price above the EMAs. And that was the tap in. And then prices came back to the stop loss right, quite aggressively to the downside, no chance to break even, so this was another minus to the second trade of the day. But actually, yeah, it was a full valid trade with the C1 well above the EMAs, above rising EMAs. And then we had this flush, which was very clear, double MB with all the conditions met, so it was a valid trade. So then price came back under the EMAs on the validation. Yeah, it's kind of seems to be consolidating here. Still part of a stage 1. Volatility right here with this wick. Still not clear. Continue throughout this consolidation on the validation time frame. Price comes down as part of a flush on the context time frame, which is what we're seeing right here. At this point, we have this accumulation on the V time frame, which comes from a reaction as a bounce from the 10 EMA on the C, and from there we had the buildup of an MB1, which is right here. So price goes above the accumulation, flushes to the 20 right here. We have this containment line, and then we can see the formation of this double MB. Yeah, this is actually the third trade that I took. So again, a valid trade in terms of the setup. On the C2 we have price above the accumulation MB, above rising EMAs. On the C time frame, price was inside this MNB1, having a bounce from the 10 EMA, and on the validation we had price going all over the accumulation MB, then flushed out of this MNB1, which touches and bounces from the 20, and the buildup of this double MB. The entry price was in this case above the containment line and above rising EMA, so it was quite a nice setup. So there was tap in at that moment, and I placed my take profit here. I was willing to move this upwards, but there was an aggressive move up, so we're gonna see, yeah, just like that. So I was out of the trade just as this week touched my take profit for a 1.3R move. So in terms of management, this was there was no point to get out here. I should have held it, but well, I had no chance to move my take profit as this came up very quickly. Yeah, from there we had a move upwards, back down. So this one came up to 2.2R before getting back to break even. And honestly, due to the way this moved here, it's probable that I would have closed it as a break-even trade, due to the fact that it came up 2 over 2R. So I would probably have moved my stop to break even. So this was, in this case, good for me. I was fortunate to have this this way. So in this case, price comes all the way again back to the 20 on the V, and from there you take a look. Should there have been any chance or opportunity for an entry? Argue that maybe here, I don't like the fact that this was so aggressive to the bearish side, but you could argue that there was an entry here with price above the containment line and above rising EMAs. So this could have been a move. I'm just gonna mark this to be clear. have been the entry. And let's take a look at how this would have. Yeah, this would have been a full TP trade. Fully valid. So a flush here. This was probably part of the same MME1 to the way that it moved. And yeah, a fully valid trade. I'm just marking WB. The entry, no drawdown at all. We survive here on this flush on the entry time frame, and then directly to the 3R take profit. So this is not a trade taken by me, but this certainly presented. Okay. So just to have here the count, we had a -1 followed by a -1 followed by first one was a break even, the second one a -1, the third one a -1, the fourth trade because that's a trade that I took. So we had this flush as part of MMB1 that failed. It went below the EMA, stayed there, and as soon as we had this move up, I consider this as MMB1 again. So So I had this marking here. At that time, I believe here there was an entry for me here. I believe based on this double MB price above the containment line. After touching the 5 on the validation, there was no touch of the 10 to be clear, which is kind of a rule that I have. So this was, I believe, my entry. Yeah, right there. So let me just mark this here. That was the setup there. And I held this until 8:49:10. 8:49:10. That was quite a long trade for me. And actually a mistake. We're gonna go through that in a minute. Yeah. So the setup was sort of valid, you could argue. The only thing for me, for my system, is that I normally wait for a touch at least of the 10. In this case, that didn't happen. This was a touch of the 5. Then this double M became. The other thing that I don't like really much here is that at the time of the entry, EMAs were kind of flat. They were barely going up. So that could have been maybe a sign to stay out. Besides the fact that for my system, again, I don't usually enter if I don't have a touch of the 20 on the validation. But well, the thing is that I got in at that time. I had not placed the trade with take profit and stop loss. So actually this came below what would have been my original stop loss line, and price came back to the 20 and had a reaction from there. The thing there is that I held in hopes of a reaction from the 20, which is actually what happened, but it wasn't okay in terms of the setup, the original setup, the original risk. This should have been a -1, to be honest, but I held it. So that was the trade there. Came right back to entry point, and at this time right here, this is when I closed for a minor win, because this actually should have been a break-even trade, as I was lucky to have price coming back to my entry point. But again, this was a mistake. This was trade that I should not have placed in the first place. And after that, having that without the stop loss is what made me wrong in this case, letting it run. And well, I decided to hold because again, I was hoping to get a reaction from the after this flush of MMB1, and that happened, but this was not a good management. So that's actually the only reason why I hadn't this marked, but to be fully honest, I would like to have this recorded as well. Yeah. So after that, we had a move of price below the EMAs on the validation. Maybe as part of this MMB1 flush context time frame. So this was waiting time. All of this was waiting time. Price bounces from the 20 EMA, goes back in and bounces again. It's part of this MMB1 flush in the context time frame. I had this high here marked, expecting a move above to validate this accumulation. This is something that happened, and then we had this move up to the build-up of MMB1, just like that. I'm just gonna go first to see this move. 23, yeah, this is another trade that I took. Yeah, this is actually the one that we had discussed before, where the setup was, in this case, valid. Nice flush on the MMB1 and the validation. Price coming to the 20 EMAs, bouncing from it, building a double MB. Price entry above the above pricing EMAs and above the containment line, and then an immediate touch of my take profit as the price just moved up very aggressively. So this was a plus 1.3 for me at that time. The trade before that one was, let's see, let me calculate that. It's 8.33. And then after that one, price came back again here as part of this move. I believe we already saw that. Yeah, I said I did not like the fact that this was a very strong bearish candle, but the buildup of the double MB was clean, and this is a no drawdown trade that came right TP for a +3. So this is not a trade that I took, but it is worth to consider that and to be recorded for the understanding of what was possible today. So let's continue to see what happens. So these could have been a move worth following up through this containment line right here. But as you can see, price never gave a valid entry signal, came through the 10 to the 20 right here. You could argue there was, maybe a double MB here, but never validated, so no trade there, and price goes below the EMAs. This bounce from the 10 EMA on our context time frame. We are still inside an MMB1 context time frame, and we had this move up. I marked this at that time as MMB1. Let's see if there was any opportunity there. This high, we have then this containment line, and this, no, actually this could have been a setup, but as you can see, price did not came to touch the 20, which is a rule that I have on my system. So this is a valid double MB, but due to the fact that there was no touch of the 10, probably this is, and that's the reason why I did not consider this entry here. That's fine. Okay, so what came then from there was a flush now to the 20, as you can see here from this high, right to the 20. This is the fifth trade that I took and my last one today. So a move from the same, this is MMB1 as well, comes back to the 20, double MB build up above containment line, above rising MAs, and this was my entry at this moment. Entry and then directly into drawdown. So you can see I was out at 38, 1004, 38 right here. I was out. Probably around here, This was a 0.5R. This is what I actually took, and the reason why, again, to be honest, is because I wanted to close the day green. These two first losses had some effect on my emotion at the very start of the session. Then I had this small win with this one again. So I was still, I believe, red on the day, and with this move here, I was back into the green. So that's the reason. There was no real reason for me to have closed at this point. This is something that I should have let play. And let's see what would have happened. Just let me see something here before. Yeah, I was a bit red at this time, and as soon as I had this move, I closed it to close the red, to close the day green. What could have happened? Should I have let this run? This came again back through my entry point. Need to draw down. Then above. Here. And interestingly enough, this would have been a full TP trade. So I would have experienced first drawdown almost to my stop loss. I would have saved the loss just for a tiny bit here, a few ticks, and then it ran. Came above this high. Could maybe argue this was enough reason to move to break even, but anyway, price never came back to entry point, and then due to some sort of comment or news hit with this candle, it spikes and goes through the 3R take profit. So I just took plus 0.5 due to the reasons that I explained before, but the move was correct, and it would have been a +3 in this case. So just to keep on the recording and see what else was available, this is the end of the session for me this morning, and I basically closed the flat just to keep on the recording with the way that all the trades should have been managed. I'm gonna switch this just to show it like this, and it was 3. and then I am gonna change this one here to a -1, which is the one that I said that I mismanaged due to not having the stop loss in place. This one was 1.3. I believe would have been the break-even trade in case I should have. Yeah. Should I have let this run? This would have gone up to 2.2 and then back here to break even. So this would have been break even. So break even -1, -1. This one to break even. This one to +3, and this other one to +3. So this is actually the picture, the way it should have been managed in an optimal way. So the first one a break even, then 3 -1 is a break even, and then the last two there were full TP trade opportunities. So let's keep on going. So price keeps on moving to the bullish side above MMB1 on the context time frame and starts building an MMB2. There is a flush from MMB2. Comes here to first to the 20, yeah, but there was no entry opportunity there. Here was the containment line. The containment line at the time price was at the 20 was this one here. Came here. And this would, let's see, yeah. In this case, oh no, yeah. There was a chance here that this would have been a -1, as there was a touch of the 10. Here was a clear containment line, MMB1 and MMB2 here. The reason that I decided to skip this was that the EMAs were going sideways at this moment. So I did not like the fact that they were sideways. Here, this would be a tap in if we just take a look at the double MB. Then this would have probably gone directly into a loss. But in this case, this saved me a loss. The fact that I did not like the EMAs to be going sideways. The price came down. In this case, below the 10, right above the 20, and there was this build up, this double MB build. The containment line at that moment was this one here. Yeah. So then price stayed there. Here still wouldn't be valid because it would have been below or at the containment line. Again there and there. But at this time I decided to place a buy stop right there, because if price touches this point here, that would mean it is above the double MB and a little bit above the containment line, so technically that would be valid, and the EMAs would have been rising. They were already rising here, so that would have been a very nice setup, and I believe this went all the way to full TP. Yeah. So no break even at that point. You could say break even right there, and then quickly to full TP. So another +3 right there out of this reaction. So on the validation, MMB2 flush into the 20, just a little bit over, and then this double MB setup. So a nice entry and a +3 right there. So I believe this will keep on going up. This is a flush. It was just to the 5, so this is not a setup for me, and I believe there was no entry possible. And then there came a flush, strong one actually. Let's put on the containment line. At this moment, this one here, price coming to almost touch the 20, and this you could argue, this one could have been a valid. It's kind of similar to the previous one, because the EMAs kind of going sideways at this moment. But you could somehow argue this would have been a valid trade. So let's mark this one and see how it would have gone. So there, tapping there, a 2 contract size, stop loss below the low. And I believe this was probably this would have been a break-even trade due to the fact that it's moved in drawdown over 50% drawdown and then comes back to break even, so it would have been a break even trade for me. Let's see how it goes from there. Yeah, and that rule would have saved me a -1 in this case. That's basically positive to have this rule in place. So let's see how this goes from there. As soon as I saw price going under the EMAs and saw this, I was expecting that we were gonna be having a flush on the context time frame to price come and test the 10 or even the 20. That was my thought at that moment. Let's see how that actually developed. So yeah, all of this move here is part of this flush on the C. So again, all of this is waiting time. We have to see if there's any bounce from the EMAs here and then a build up of a cycle on the validation time frame. So nothing there still. Okay, at this point you could argue maybe this here is an accumulation coming from this bounce from the 10 on the C, and this some sort of MMB1. So let's mark this just to follow this one. This one. Having an MMB1. And here a possible MMB2. This one, there would have been any opportunity. So from here to the 20, just like that. Maybe one here, but yeah, no chance to get in. Maybe here. This would have been the entry point, but for me that's a little bit too high. I normally want my entries to be around the EMAs, a little bit over the EMAs. So at this point I normally skip this sort of trades. So then price goes up again. Maybe there was a flush here, but again, not quite clear. And then price movement below the EMAs on the validation. Yeah, moving down as part of the higher time frame flush on the C. touches the 20 on the C. Let's see if there's any sort of bounce from there. Yeah, there was a bounce. You could argue that this could have been an accumulation in B. Then moves up. And then we had here MMB1. Let's see. This is here. So from here, the containment line first with something like that. First, price going all the way back. Let's see to the a little bit under the 5, but still not touching the 20. So this was no setup for me due to that rule. Comes up, comes down, touches the 20. So my containment at that moment would have been that one, which is not a sort of containment line that I like. But in this case, again, you could argue there was some entry possible right there. Just looking at this one. This is a maybe 2. And this here is maybe 1. So entry above the EMAs and above the containment line. Yeah, so you see what would have happened there. At this point, this would have been a break-even trade for me as soon as price goes above this high. So at this point here, I would have moved my stop loss to break even. And this would have been a break-even trade. It went up to 2.2R before coming back to break even. So this one again would have been another break-even trade. Due to the fact that it went up to 2.2, you could say that maybe you would have set up or have moved your stop loss by the time the price closed below the 10, or some sort of protected low like this one here. But in this case, we're going to consider that we were looking just for the full TP. Otherwise, we would let the price to come back to break even, which is what happened in this case. Yeah. So let's continue. I'm gonna mark this as MMB2. And this here in itself was another flush. not a very clear containment line. The one that not some containment that I don't like. Still inside MMB2 on the C. And yeah, again, downwards. Quite a little bit choppy, you could say. Right at the 20 on the context time frame. We have some reaction from there on the V. And we have a flush that comes right to the 20. There's a containment line right here. Just like that, and let's see if there comes any double MB setup or not. So price goes a little bit under, we adjust the containment line just like this. And then we have this MMB1. You could argue MMB2 here. Let's see. So maybe here, as we have, this is MMB1 and this is MMB2. Let's keep on looking. Yeah, we would have got tapped in. Let's see. This would have been our buy stop at that point. This was so we're gonna go with 3 contracts there. Let's see what would have happened. So goes up in case price goes over this high, we move to break even. Let's see. There were some candles close above, so I moved the whole trade. I would say at this point here, I would move it to break even. So my stop loss. So let me put there. It's right there. Up again. goes up to 2.17. This is what I was saying just before. In this case, you could argue this is at 1.4 and you have a close below the EMAs. So you can close at 1.4 at this time and just let it go back to break even. In this case, for the purpose of the video, I'm just gonna go for the 40p or the break even. Seems like we're gonna get our break even. Yeah, that's a break even trade. I believe our third in a row. Yeah. We are around 3:30 New York time at this time. So we're coming to the end of the session and we go below the EMAs. Let's see if there's a reaction or again a bounce from here, or if the price just goes below the EMAs on the context time frame. So there was some sort of bounce. We had some sort of accumulation here, but there was, I believe, no chance to get in here on this flush. And then we again go below, and we're going below the EMAs. We're going below the EMAs, and I believe we've come to the end of the session. Yeah. No, not yet. But we're going down. Under the EMAs on the context time frame, and we are getting here to the EMAs on the C2. So let's see if there's some sort of bounce from there. This was an accumulation MB, and this was MMB1 on the C2. This time we have to wait, just wait to see if there's any reaction from there, and actually we have to wait to see price going again above the EMAs on our C time frame. Otherwise we have just to stay away. There's probably not much that we will have as we are getting very close to the end of the session. So we get a reaction from the 20 on our C2 time frame. Price is at just below the EMAs on the C. So still nothing for us to consider. Now it starts going a little bit over. So you could say this is an accumulation. Let's pause for a bit. This was some sort of on the validation here, having an accumulation and MMB1, and this I believe is part of MMB2, and that's the end of our session. So that would be the whole day on NQ. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 trades or trade opportunities that we saw. And just to see, we had -3 and a +9. So we would have ended the session with a gain of +6R. In case we would have entered all the opportunities here and managed them the best way possible, just as we saw on the video. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.